For this exercise, we will use the drawing from the previous exercise. Let's go to File Open, or you can press Ctrl O. Go to our training folder, go to Training Drawings, and open Generic Pavement Structure Subassembly. Let's save it as. You can use File Save As, or you can press Ctrl-Shift-S and specify the new name, Subassembly from Polyline, and hit Enter to confirm the name. Let's zoom to our assembly. If you need to create subassembly for object that doesn't change the shape along the corridor, for example, you have a curb and the curb shape is the same, you don't need to introduce any transitions, then you can use subassembly from polyline. First, you need to sketch the polyline. Let's do that. You can do it outside of your assembly. Let's try it somewhere here. Press PL for polyline and let's sketch it. So I will go 0.1 meters down, but let's turn on the ortho regime. So 0.1 down, then 0.3 horizontal, 0.2 up, 0.1 horizontal, and C to close. So this is closed polyline. Before I convert it to a subassembly, I sometimes make a copy, so later on I can reuse it. And let's convert this polyline to subassembly. You can either use command corridor, create subassembly from polyline. If you prefer using ribbon, go to ribbon home. And this command is hidden under create design and go to create subassembly from polyline. Specify the polyline. And it opens new window where you can specify the name. As a name, you can use curb. As a code set style, use assembly. And then mid-ordinate distance, what it means. If you have a curved polyline with arcs, then this is the distance between the straight line and arc. Let me cancel, don't cancel on your side, I will temporarily cancel. And let me convert this to arc. So if it was like this, Civil 3D triangulation can only use straight lines. It cannot have a curved lines. So if Civil 3D creates triangles, let me change the color. And if there is a arced object, it will use straight lines like that. The distance between the straight line and curve is called mid-ordinate distance. So if you need to create subassembly, let's say for tunnel, which has a curved shape, then the lower the value, the more detailed model you will have. But of course, that will add the complexity. Let me undo here and let's go back to our previous window. So I go to create design, create subassembly from polyline, then I select the polyline again. As a name, I will use curb. And mid-ordinate distance, since we don't have any arc portion, it won't have any impact. Under the link creation, we have three options: none, single, or multiple. If you don't want to create links, you can use none. If you want all the links to treat as a one single link, you can use single option. But in our case, we will use multiple because we want to assign different codes to various links. If you want to erase existing entity, you can, but I want to keep it for later on because maybe I need to recreate this subassembly. So let's tick it off and click OK. And this is created subassembly. But before we can use it, we need to add the codes. But what codes? If I attach this subassembly to edge of traveled way, this point will have a code ETW. But what about this code and that code? Maybe they might be useful because I want to display feature lines for those 2 points. What would be the suitable codes? If I don't know, then I will go for inspiration to code set style. Let's go to Tool Space, Settings, General, Multipurpose Styles, Code Set Styles. And I can either go to Assembly or Corridor. I personally prefer going to Corridor because at the end of the day, it will be used for corridor modeling. Then I go to Edit. I go to Points. And here I will check the various codes available for curbs. There's a curb 1, curb 2, back, bottom, flow line, in, out. I believe that the point at the back should be called curb back. So what I will do, I will click inside, right click, and I go to copy to clipboard. Then I cancel. So this point I want to call curb back. Select subassembly, right click, and go to add code. Then you can click inside the command line and press Ctrl V to paste curb back. Hit enter, and now you can select point or link or shape. If you want to select point, click on a circular point or marker, and that will add point code, curb back. This point can probably be called curb top. So let's add another code. You can either hit enter to repeat a command, select subassembly, enter code. If you press the arrow up, it will repeat the last code, and I will delete back and I will add top with a capital T. Enter. And then I will select this marker. So I have new point code here, curb top. What about the other points? I don't need those other points unless I want to create feature lines for those points, but I need to add link codes. These two links should have two codes, or maybe one code, just top link, and this bottom one should be datum link. So let's do that. Select subassembly, right click, go to add code, and then enter code, top, capital T, enter, and select link. I have two objects on top of each other, so let me select subassembly. What I will do, I will select polyline and I will move it a little bit to the side so I don't have two objects on top of each other. And then I will use the same command again. So I select command add code, then I press arrow up, enter, and I select the link. So this link has a code top. For the bottom link, I will use the same. I can repeat a command with enter, select subassembly, then I will enter code for datum, enter, and I select this link. So this is datum link for datum surface. And finally, if I want to calculate quantities for this curve, then I need to define shape. Select subassembly, right click, and use command add shape. Select closed area and hit enter. Now there is a new shape. Let's add the code to the shape. Select subassembly, right click, and go to add code. Enter code name. You can call it curb or concrete, whatever you prefer. I will call it curb, enter. And then I select shape. Sometimes it might be difficult to select shape, but let's try if I do it like this. And yes, it was assigned, and there is a new code for shape called curb. Now the subassembly is ready, but what you may sometimes need to do is to modify origin. Currently the insertion point is here, which is correct, but it might happen that your origin might be somewhere else. For example, here, this is the insertion point or attachment point. So you can simply select subassembly, right click, go to modify origin, and then specify the location where you want the attachment point to be. Select subassembly, right click, and use command add to assembly. And select ETW marker, and now it is part of your assembly. If you want the subassembly to be on the other side as well, you can mirror it. Select subassembly, right click, and use command mirror. In some Civil 3D versions, you may find out that this mirror is grayed out. You can't do it for the subassemblies from polylines. If that happens, then use the following workaround. Select at least two subassemblies, right click, and then the mirror generally occurs or is available. It's not grayed out. Then use that command and specify the location somewhere. Then delete the other subassembly. And now you can move it to the location move to where you want it And I don't like that these layer works go through the curb, so let's modify it. I will select both layers, then I go to Properties, and for the Deflect Outer Vertical Face, set No. Let's close the Properties window. This looks definitely better. Let's go to Prospector, Corridor, and let's rebuild our corridor. And then we can check the cross sections. So go to cross sections and check whether it looks right. Yes, it looks correct. The only thing I don't like is that the top surface doesn't follow the curb. That's because we specified the top surface boundary to be driven by ETW edges. Let's go to Corridor Properties. You can go from Prospector or from Plan. Then go to Boundaries, Road 1 Top Boundary, Remove Boundary, and add a new one. And now we can add Corridor Extends as Outer Boundary because we will develop this subassembly further. Click OK. That will rebuild the corridor and it will also rebuild the top surface. There might be discrepancy at the horizontal curves, but for now we will ignore it because as I said, like here, as I said, we will add some other subassemblies. So save this drawing, and this is how to create subassembly from polyline.